Hey, this week of Coffee and Tools, episode 50. By any chance, if you see someone with a set of pliers like this marks someone who's either in the aircraft industry, races motorcycles, races a car, something like that. But it's a professional level. It's a very specialized tool for a very specialized reason, but a lot of times it's just referred to as safety wire. Looks like a pair of pliers to me. Hey, welcome back to Coffee and Tools. Yeah, safety wire pliers and safety wire. What I've decided to do is I'm going to set up a test here, or a demo, but what I'm going to use is a piece of white wire so you can see the action of what happens with these pliers. It's really pretty neat the way they spin around like that, but they put a really cool twist on. Now they have you'll see this right here, they have a locking mechanism on the handle here, and this slides back and forth to lock that. What's cool is once you get the pressure that you need on the pliers, you tighten it up like that, push this lock back. The pliers are now locked and will hold the wire until you're ready to release. When you're ready to release, you just squeeze the pliers really tight and this will unlock automatically. So it's really sort of a basic set of pliers, but kind of sophisticated at the same time. The other thing they have is this really cool twist at the back end of them. And of course, this is all part of the action of these particular pliers, is that twist. Because as you pull it out this way, obviously the pliers are going to spin. So what you're actually getting is this sort of activity. There was an old drill we used to have that used to do something like that. But anyways, I'm going to, like I said, just use a pair of, just some white wire. And with the white wire, I'll be able to show you the action of what's happening here with these safety pliers. How they're used, okay, we'll drill a hole through a nut or bolt or something along that line. Generally through the nut part of an assembly, on a nut and bolt assembly. And drilling the hole usually breaks a couple drill bits before you get the hole made, but it's just a .040 wire generally used. And you put that through the hole of the nut, and then you'll run to like a hard spot on a bike frame, depending on, in my case it was motorcycle racing, but you find a hard spot to wire it through, and you loop it back. Once you've done that, now you're going to actually tighten up and create the twist on the safety wire. And so that's where I'm going to show you this right now, since we find some white wire here. All right. Now, what I picked here was just a piece of white wire because it's just easier to see it on the camera. Normally I wouldn't be using anything like this, but this was just to show you the activity of what happens here. So you go through a nut and maybe a hard spot on the chassis, and you're coming back, and now you have these two dead ends of the wire coming back at you. And what happens with these particular pliers is you're going to open up the jaws and you're going to grab both. That gets a little bit tricky, but not too bad. And then you squeeze down tight and then slide this action back. That locks it. Now those pliers now have a locked bite on this wire. So just think of this as not moving. This is the bolt. I'm going to be pulling on the back end of the handle of this, and you can see what happens is it starts to twist like that. Usually, depending on the wire, a lot of times it's about 2-3 twists generally, and that kind of creates that twist. So there we go. And I just sort of show you that, but it's a beautiful, nice looking, fabricated twist on this wire, and it's all locked up. And it's all part of that safety wire of wiring up, like I say, a motorcycle, race bike, or if you're in the aircraft industry, this is just common knowledge. This is like, oh, that's just a safety wire of pliers. So now we're going to snip the end, and the other thing you do, and again, this is way bigger than you'd normally work with. And then the other thing you would do is take the pliers, and again, because this is so exaggerated just for the video, you'd bend this down in and try to turn it away from the chances of humans, getting into it. If you're really good at it, you can curl this thing up a little bit and sort of make a nice spot where a hand or clothing can brush by, nothing's going to get hung up on the wire. Because after you cut that, it's actually pretty sharp. But this is something that's just, you know, when you talk about race car tools, it's one of these crazy things that comes to mind because we all have socket sets and wrenches and hammers and what have you, but something like this is kind of specialized. And if you don't know what it is, you should take a look at it. It's a pretty neat item. I have used them for other jobs that are not normal to safety wire. But when you're racing, this is something like even tech is going to be checking you before you say you hit the Daytona 500 kind of thing. So it's really quite an interesting tool. And hey, thanks for stopping by Old Coffee and Tools this week, episode 50. So we're going to be looking at some really odd tools, such as the safety wire pliers here. This is a very unusual tool, but it has a very specific reason for having. This one here, by the way, belonged to a fellow who, again, like the tool I showed the other week, raced at Daytona. I raced antique motorcycles, and also this was actually, I can still smell the race bike shop in these pliers to this day, and that's been close to 30 years ago. That's pretty amazing. But this is, thanks for looking in, and yeah, race bike, race parts. There you go, racing stuff. Cool. Huh?